Welcome to the Awesemo.com live before lock show. Got ourselves 14 games today to discuss on the main site. We'll walk you through all the things that we are seeing based upon our crunches and research and whatever's in our hearts thus far. I'm Chris Spags, joined by my pal, the baseball savant, Jake Hari. How are you doing, Jake?
Doing well. Exciting to talk some baseball once again. Nothing to complain about over here. So, yeah, it's Friday. Everything's going well today. Made some money last night. Yeah, it's been good. What about you?
Hey, I had no complaints either. And you know why we both have no complaints, Jake? It's because we both have Awesemo Plus memberships that we can access at any time. And the people out there may want that too. If you want to bring joy to your life, like the joy that Jake and I have every single day that we log on to Awesemo.com, peruse all of the latest top stacks, the latest lineup builder tools, all the premium content, the rankings, of course, the projections that plug right into Fantasy Cruncher. That brings us joy. Now it could bring you joy as well for half off your first month. Use that promo code live before lock. So just go right now to Awesemo.com and you too can be basking in all the joy that Jake and I both have. That was a good segue, right, Jake?
That was perfect.
Thank you. I'm glad to be able to provide that service, if nothing else. But we are going to talk DFS here as well. It won't just be all plugs for the entire show. Let's do some pitchers up top, Jake. I want to make sure that the chalk has moved around a little bit today. Still going to technically be Jacob deGrom. I'm not quite there as much as I thought I would be. I'm not even getting close to the field, honestly, because I would rather go cheaper. I'd rather go to Clevenger. And if I'm not going Clevenger, I'm going extra cheap and going to the guys in the 7K tier and below on DraftKings. What are you doing with DeGrom today, Jake?
Yeah, I'm not getting to DeGrom. I don't think that's going to shock anyone. There are some really, really high implied totals today and some expensive bats. So, sorry, DeGrom, but I'm not quite getting there. I actually did get to more than I anticipated. I got to, well, actually, it came down when I filtered out a few, but I got to almost 10% of DeGrom. So, I'm comfortable with getting that much DeGrom. I think if that lineup construction is the best lineup construction, I think I'll still have some exposure. Like, I won't be completely burying myself if none of these expensive stacks go off.
So what stacks are you going to be going with, I guess, if you have DeGrom? Because I know some people out there will be thinking you can't get Dodgers in. I mean, you can get some of the cheaper Dodgers, I guess, if you want to have some lineups with Matt Beattie and Russell Martin. But who are you going to be getting if you are getting DeGrom in your lineups?
Yeah, KC is kind of catching my eye. I thought I wasn't going to get to a lot of them. We were actually talking before the show. I didn't think I had a lot of them, but really like Whit Merrifield for 4,600. And then like all these secondary pieces are kind of pretty cheap. So that would be a stack I would get to. It's going to be pretty popular, I think. Do you know where they rank as far as most popular stack? I thought they were.
Kansas City. Actually, let me refresh it because I don't know if we've gotten anything in the meantime.
Yeah,
I guess I did need to refresh it.
7% ownership. That's one of the higher
Yes.
ones. That's top 4 right now. So, yeah, I'm not crazy about that. That's why I don't like the DeGrom lineups. Adam's been talking about it more and more. It's like he handcuffs you into a certain lineup construction, and that's not really something I'm interested in when we've got so many really good teams on the slate in really good spots, a lot of hot weather around, and a lot of volatile pitchers as well.
Okay. Also, dropping a link in the chat since Dylan's asking for how much it costs. There's the page where you can see all the prices for different packages. We got a bunch of packages with Fantasy Cruncher or without, so go check it out, Dylan, and use that promo code live before lock if you want to do that. Yeah, I honestly am with you on the Royals. They do come up with our projections. They do come up if you are getting some of the higher priced pitchers. I don't mind the spot overall. This lineup, though, not that the lineup they had projected earlier today was much better. I think it got even worse. I really don't love Nicky Lopez on the 2-hole. Not crazy about having Cuthbert, who's not great versus righties. Arteaga, too, is not somebody who I'm particularly intrigued by, but he's so cheap that he comes up a lot. I don't mind matching the field on them, but I just wouldn't be super excited about it. And I think on the other side, too, Sean Reed-Foley could be a little bit of interesting leverage there because he is getting 11 strikeouts per 9 going back to last year, actually 11.3. Not good at anything else, giving up a ton of walks and hits. But if he gets those strikeouts today, he could kill those Royal stacks pretty fast.
Yeah, he certainly could. I remember playing Reed-Foley quite a bit last season. I did not get to him. He's getting basically no ownership on DraftKings. So he's not really someone I looked at 8,300, but I think he's probably a decent enough pitcher to not make this Kansas City stack work. And it's not like KC has amazing bats all over the place anyways, but it's more of a price thing than anything with these Royals. They're just priced pretty appropriately, I think.
Yeah, I think that's fair. How about Mike Clevenger? Because he to me jumped out immediately today as the pivot to go to DeGrom. Obviously, the spot here in Baltimore, not the best in terms of it being a positive park factor for hitting overall, but still a very low run total, 3.8 implied runs against him. Decent strikeout matchup with really only a couple guys there dragging down the strikeout numbers overall, with Hanser Alberto and Anthony Santander both at around 10% K rates versus right-hand pitching. But overall, there are a lot of strikeouts for Clevenger to get, and also just not a lot of guys who can hit the ball well. And Clevenger's missed bats extremely well in the limited starts that he's had so far. Is Clevenger somebody that you're going to get to?
I'm not really. And I thought I would get to a lot more Clevenger just because that's a nice price on him, 9,600 compared to DeGrom, and the $1,600 is going to make a difference in terms of who you can get. That's at least one big bat upgrade, probably two, depending on which teams you're trying to stack to which teams you're trying to get up to. But yeah, you got this nice matchup against the Orioles. He hasn't pitched in 10 days. He's more than fully rested through 91 pitches in his last start, and he's in his short sample this season, he's striking out a ton of hitters. So there's a lot to like from a raw points perspective. I actually thought he would grade out a little bit better in Alex's projections. So I thought he'd be a better value than what he was. But yeah, I actually didn't get to as much Clevenger as I thought. I got to 6% on the crunch I did right before the show.
Yeah, I thought I'd have a little more Clevenger too. And I think the way that the hitting is, and this is something you've talked about a lot on our shows and in general, Jake, with the wanting to pay for bats right now. And like, I would like to pay for Clevenger because I think he's in a good spot, but you really can't get two of the stacks you like. Like, I really like Washington, really like the Dodgers. I also like Milwaukee. You're not getting the best parts of those stacks, really any of the good parts of those stacks for the most part, if you are trying to get Clevenger in there. So even though you're saving money from DeGrom, and I do think that savings is worthwhile, it's still not quite enough to get you where you want to be in terms of getting the hitting you want. So yeah, I have less Clevenger than I would like, but I think he's the best pitcher on the slate in terms of the opportunity in front of him.
I would have no issues at all using him as an SP1. The problem is, even when you're trying to get up to the Dodgers and like the Astros and other expensive stacks, like, you know, if you're trying to go to the other side, of course, Colorado, it's really, really difficult to fit him in and get like the best pieces of those stacks, even at 9,600.
Yeah, I think it's a tough spot. I still think he's worth having, some exposure to, because he has been looking really good so far in the couple games that he's had. He's only faced 62 batters so far this year, but a .72 WHIP, 1.9 xFIP, only giving up 2.7 hits per nine, and the strikeouts are really the thing that you'd want there. Almost 16 strikeouts per nine, a 16.5% swing strike rate. So if he can actually hang in there and not get damaged, I think it's a spot that could be a nice one there to go to for him. But who are you doing? I guess who are you getting the most of so far? Just who's your number one owned pitcher in your crunches that you've done before going down the show?
I wonder if you can guess, because we use the same projections and you kind of know by this point, you know, kind of how I work things. So who
it's gotta be Eliezer, right?
It is Eliezer.
Yeah.
And then do you want to guess my number two guy right now?
Is it Vince Velasquez?
It is Vince Velasquez. Wow.
It's like same for me, Jake. Same for me.
Okay, I figured we would both be getting healthy doses of both of these guys, and you can kind of see why. I mean, on a night with all these fantastic hitting environments, there's really this one in Miami, roof closed, so you know, it'd be around 70 degrees. It's a big park. You've got two pretty quality pitchers. Velasquez, really good at getting strikeouts. The issue with him is that you don't know how deep he's going to go into this game. I think 70 or so pitches is probably going to be his max. I wouldn't expect a bunch more than that, but that should get him to the 5 and, you know, hopefully 6 inning mark. And if he gives you a K per inning, I think he's going to be more than paying off that price tag for 7K against a Marlins team that's just really bad. They don't have a lot of power and just all right-handed. So playing right into Velasquez's strength, pitcher spot, of course, and then Eliezer, who has strikeout upside, as he's shown us. Philly's actually striking out more than I thought. They're around average right now. And he's one where if he gives up a couple runs, he's not going to hurt you at 6,500 as long as he can get a handful of strikeouts here. So just good pitching environment on a slate where there's really not that many of them. It's here in Miami, it's Tampa, and probably San Francisco. Maybe you can consider San Diego, but looks like a 9 implied total, or 9 total there as well.
Yeah, I mean, the spot here is just so like I think it's a little bit less good for Eliezer overall, but his strikeout stuff is better. I think the strikeout numbers, I mean, this projected lineup that they have, or I guess confirmed lineup for Philly, just a 20.5% K rate, but they have enough guys who are around or above league average where I think he can get it done. And he's been good on the year. He's actually got a 14% swing strike rate so far in the year, a 1.2 whip. So Elieser's been doing a good job. I think he's actually comparably talented, at least to Velasquez, but I would say maybe a little bit more so. Velasquez just has the better matchup in front of him going against Miami. This lineup they have today, really not anybody too worrisome there. The same guys we talked about yesterday who ended up being extra worrisome was that Strasburg yesterday?
Oh, yeah. Strasburg, he kind of got knocked around in one inning, and then he rebounded decently, but still wasn't worth the 12K or whatever he was.
Yeah, so we had talked about there was some kind of theoretical risk there. I didn't think it was going to be Rojas having the big day. My lineups yesterday in particular, I ended up having a good amount of Rojas just because of the price, and he went nuts, so that was helpful. I don't see the same opportunity for Rojas today, but I do think that Ramirez and Cooper and Brian Anderson there are a strong trio going against Velasquez, but Velasquez still getting 10.3 strikeouts per nine on the year. This Marlins lineup in general going to have some decent strikeouts around, and just the hope being in a positive pitching park should be a good spot for Velasquez at not a crazy amount of ownership. I think it may have come up a little bit throughout the day, but still not too bad. So yeah, I don't mind these guys here. They do project as two of the better value pitchers. One other guy, Jake, who is value on our projections at Osmo.com, which you also do get with that promo code Live Before Lock. Michael Wacha projects a decent value overall, mostly because he's cheap, getting 4.7 implied runs against him in San Diego. Is he somebody you would consider there, given that he's in another pitching park?
Yeah, he's another guy that I'm getting to. I mean, San Diego just strikes out so much versus right-handed pitching. So basically any cheap righty that's going against San Diego, I'll take a shot on. I mean, they're much scarier than the Marlins, and it's shown in the implied total. I mean, a 4.7 implied total is nothing to sneeze at or anything. But Wacha can get righties out, and he's probably going to face 7 of them, including a pitcher. So he's 5,900. I mean, they're just making him way too cheap, where I don't know if it's a fish move to play Wacha tonight, but I am playing. I think he's my third highest owned pitcher behind Velasquez and Elieser right now.
Yeah, I mean, there's some theoretical strikeout upside there because San Diego does have guys who strike out pretty well, and they've just the power is really what scares me with Wacha, because Wacha gives up a ton of hard contact. He's given up 41% on the year, and they have a 195 ISO in that lineup today, and that's with the pitcher dragging that down quite a bit. I mean, Machado's been smacking the ball around. Reyes also has been pretty strong, or at least has the opportunity to be strong. He had that one double dong game earlier in the week. Yeah, I think it's a tough spot for Wacha, and I'm less inclined to trust him. Whereas I do feel like even if Vince Velasquez and Elieser have a bad day, at least I'm not walking into a buzzsaw. And this Padres lineup has been kind of a buzzsaw lately.
Yeah, I mean, they have a ton of power, so scary matchup for sure, especially for Wacha, who I don't think is all that good, but one of the more favorable parks on the night. I would say top 5 pretty easily. And there's K upside for under 6K, which you can't really say about anyone else on this slate. Like, there's only a couple other pitchers that are priced at under 6K tonight, and he's one of them. And you've seen he's actually had some decent recent performances, so it's not like he's just been trash or anything like that. Like, in his last two out of his last 3, he scored 19 plus DK points, and you would be doing cartwheels for that tonight.
Is there anybody else you're getting some of here? I guess we should talk about Julius Chassin, who's also in that price range. He is not somebody I would go to at all. He struggles versus lefties, and also is in a park, really the worst possible home park for Chassin. Like, I don't think Chassin would be particularly good anywhere, but he gives up a ton of power and just a ton of opportunity. 1.5 whip and a 5.4 xFIP, as well as only 5.8 Ks per nine versus lefties. Getting a lot of lefty power going against him. And again, in Brewers Park, where there's going to be a lot of lefty power aided by the park itself, I'm not going to Chassin at all. The fact that he's going to be, I guess, only 15% owned now, so he's getting better, but he was at like 25% earlier today. I don't even want Chassin at 15%, honestly.
Yeah, if I was hand building, I don't think I would get to much Chassin on DK even. He's one where, like, I don't think there's much strikeout upside here at all. Pittsburgh doesn't really K all that much. You've got power from the left side specifically in this lineup with Bell and Moran. Dickerson back. That doesn't help the matchup at all. And then he's getting ownership on top of that. So, yeah, I'm not crazy about Chassin tonight. I was glad to see that he didn't project well, because then I'm not really forced to play a lot of him. I got him at about 8% on the crunch I did just before the show. So I would be fine. Like, I wouldn't get to him unless I was building 150 lineups. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, that's fair. Also, people in the chat freaking out over Aaron Sanchez being the starter on Yahoo for the Blue Jays. I don't know why that would be. Maybe this was a scheduled start, but last I saw yesterday, they were talking about moving him to the bullpen. So maybe that's why Sean Reed Foley actually is starting.
Yeah,
But I don't know.
I haven't heard a thing about Aaron Sanchez today.
Yeah, it's not. There's nothing on Twitter, nothing on Google News either. So I think that may be a faux pas on Yahoo. I mean, probably because they're taking no management fees. They couldn't quite afford the person who would update that to Sean Reed Foley. But our understanding is that it is Sean Reed Foley. But still, play their tournaments, no management fees. People there will be thinking Aaron Sanchez is playing, so you're getting an edge.
Yeah, I got a few. I got a few lineups in that no management fee. So you'll see me hopefully at the top. I stacked 3 different teams in my 3 lineups that I played tonight. So we'll see.
Are you getting any of these guys in the middle range there? Because we've talked about most of the cheap guys. I assume you're not going. Well, I guess is there anybody cheaper who you're going to less than Chacin?
Less than Chacin?
Going to Sensatella at all? Is he you big Sensatella guy today?
No Sensatella. No. Daniel Norris. He's not cheaper than Chacin, but I got a couple shares of him. I got a couple shares of like Anibal Sanchez, Soroka. I even got a few Chris Archer. I guess theoretically there's strikeout upside there against Milwaukee if he's got his A game or whatever. But yeah, it's a really tough pitching slate. What about Felix Pena?
He's not somebody I'm into. I would honestly rather go to Archer over him because I think Archer, at least you're getting that big leverage on the field if Milwaukee somehow falters. Because Milwaukee's going to have some decent ownership, and I assume, well, it's not as high as it was looking like it was going to be earlier today, but still some decent leverage on both Grandal and Yelich. Oakland, I don't know. I just don't like going against Oakland's got a lot of power, and they're in a power-friendly park for Anaheim or for Los Angeles. Really Anaheim, though. I live in Los Angeles. They're nowhere nearby. But yeah, I would say Oakland scares me off enough where they have power. I wouldn't want to go to Pena personally, especially with some of the lefties there. Like Olsen, I think, is in a pretty good spot for Oakland, given that Pena struggles versus lefty bats. And Pena's shown some signs. So if you wanted to go with him, I wouldn't hate it. But I think Oakland, they're just a scary team to go against with a pitcher.
I agree. Oakland's not like a perfect matchup, but possibly no Chris Davis in this lineup. I think that's what they're waiting on here. And then Olsen is the guy that, I mean, he'll probably homer off Felix Pena. That just profiles as a really, really good matchup for Olsen. But as long as it's a solo shot or, he somehow keeps the ball in the yard against these lefties. 6,700 for Pena and getting basically no ownership. I definitely have interest there. I got to double digits. So I think that's a pretty decent stand that I'm taking on a cheapish pitcher.
You know who I would have taken a shot at? And I think you guys were making fun of him on the Yahoo show. I'm not sure if it was a different White Sox projected pitcher, but I would actually have taken a shot at Ross Detweiler. He's not on the slate on DraftKings, at least. But that Minnesota lineup they put out against him is pretty terrible. Like, out of all the lineups they could have put out there, I don't think that's one of the stronger ones they could have had.
Yeah, Detweiler, I honestly don't know anything about him. We were assuming it was going to be Justin Nicolino, who...
Oh, okay.
He is... I mean, he was, literally the worst strikeout pitcher in all of the major leagues. He had under 4 Ks per 9, over the span of 2+ seasons. Just can't strike out anyone. So... No, we weren't making fun of good old Ross, but
okay. Yeah, I heard you guys making fun of somebody, and I didn't hear the name, and I was like, oh, maybe it was Detweiler. But yeah, so Detweiler did pitch last year, faced 23 batters in the majors, so nothing noteworthy there, but was equally bad versus lefties and righties. He gave up a 3 whip out of the 5 lefties he faced. So this is really irrelevant stuff, but at least if you are going to play that Twins lineup, which did have a high implied total earlier in the day, maybe coming down a little bit because I haven't updated in the last hour or so. It's a spot to go with maybe, but yeah, that Twins lineup, I mean, Rosario's hurt. For some reason, Cruz isn't in the lineup either. Really not as strong as it could have been in that spot here and a friendly hitting park for Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not the A+ lineup the Twins could have rolled out there. They've got some nagging injuries. Rosario's got an ankle issue or something. And then you see Sano priced down in the 8 hole at 4,600. So that's not really a guy you'd like to get to all that often, but still, with all that being said, I mean, almost 6 implied total. And if people are just going to be turned off of the full stack, you don't need home runs from everyone. So the lineup looks ugly, but they still have some really good parts in Polanco and CJ Cron. I like Scope quite a bit. And then these cheap, it's just whoever I can fit in after that. So maybe you're looking at more of a 4-man than a 5-man here. because there aren't really 5 guys you're in love with playing, but they still project pretty well value-wise in Alex's projections.
Yeah, there was a bit of a rant that shit my money went on against Luis Arias on the deeper dive, which was pretty funny. But yeah, in this particular matchup, going against a lefty pitcher and only 20 major league at bats, he does have a 0.00 ISO. Overall, against all hitters, or all pitchers rather, he's had a 122 ISO on the year, so not a lot of power for Arias in that cleanup spot. So he is one spot you could maybe consider running away from, even though he does hit the ball pretty well. More of a slap hitter so far in his entire professional career thus far. Anybody else, Jake, at pitcher that you're getting who I feel like is at a high amount? We've talked about most guys. Any Lance Lynn for you? Because I know he's owned on some sites.
Not on DraftKings for me. I didn't get to much Lance Lynn at all. In fact, I don't know if I got to 10%. I mean, okay, that's right around where he's owned. So I guess not a huge edge. There was someone, Wade Miley, who I kind of scoffed at earlier today on the Yahoo show, maybe.
Real good strikeout spot for Wade Miley.
Right. That's the thing. I didn't realize Seattle was that good of a strikeout spot. I think they're number 1 or number 2 in K percentage versus lefties this season. Miley's been decent. There's not a ton of bats you're that worried about. I mean, Domingo Santana's having a good season and he's a righty here. I don't know. I mean, that's the only guy that I'm super concerned about for Miley's sake. And then he's actually super cheap on FanDuel. So on FanDuel, I'm really only playing I'm playing the majority just 2 pitchers, and that is Miley and Yanni Chirinos. But different prices on DK. I'm still getting into some of them, but not nearly as much as I am getting on FanDuel.
Yeah, it's tough to pay that price for Miley, but the strikeouts did jump out to me when I was going through because they only have 2 guys who strike out under league average in that lineup, with Malik Smith, who's barely under league average at 22.6% versus a lefty pitcher, and D. Gordon strikes out 12.6% versus a lefty, so he's not giving you much either. But everybody else here, Crawford, 26.9%, Domingo Santana, 31%, Vogelbach, 29%, Tom Murphy, 40%. You have Austin Nola, very limited sample size, but it's at a 50% strikeout rate versus lefties so far. So those guys are going to give up some strikeouts. So I really don't hate Miley, but on a site where the price is better than DraftKings, it's tough to pay almost $9K for Wade Miley.
Yeah, I agree. So just shop around. I mean, that's why you play on multiple sites, right?
Yeah, that is one advantage point. If you are playing all these and you are playing Yahoo, let's say, and he's cheaper on there, I think that's a time where you go to him and you'll know, like, DraftKings believes in him that much. So the other sites should too, I guess. Let's see. Any Barrios for you? He is one of the linchpins of the Minnesota Jakes pitching rotation. Is he somebody you're getting at all?
No, not really at all, which I thought I'd maybe get to some of him, but he just hasn't really shown the massive upside this season. I think he's had historical success against the White Sox. I just remember him mowing down the White Sox a ton of times. That doesn't matter at all here. It's a bunch of different hitters. It doesn't look like that great of a spot for him as far as strikeouts. I mean, I expect him to go and pitch pretty well, but not well enough where he would pay off a 10.8 price tag. And if I was going up into this range a ton, it would probably just be with Clevenger, who's 1,200 less. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty fair approach to me. And yeah, same reasons I mentioned before. Like Clevenger at that price, I feel like I'd rather pay for him over DeGrom, and I definitely would rather pay for him over Barrios, even though I'm sure people who are BVP fans may love Barrios, and I'm sure they will chime up immediately in the YouTube chat. Many people love the BVP in there. But generally, though, we would say BVP not a thing to look at. A fine tiebreaker, but if you are a person who tries to really cling to that, it's not the most helpful thing. You'd rather look at the overall stats because they tend to be more predictive of what a player is going to be doing, either as a pitcher or a hitter.
Yeah, we don't have the BVP spot in the premium Osmo.com lineup page.
No, unfortunately not. For some people out there, we do not quite view that as being a necessary thing to have. But some sites out there will try to sell you that, and generally not actually going to add a lot of value. And that comes from Osmo, who is the top player in the world, making a lot of money at it. So I think he would know. All right, we got some updates on projections. Let me just check this in the top stacks tool if anything changed.
When did we get a projection? Oh, right now. Oh, yeah. Ownership. We just got ownership right now as well.
Oh, we're getting everything. So get that. Yeah. Use that promo code live before lock. You get all the stuff too. You can know when we do. The second we do, we're often pleasantly surprised, especially Jake, who's sometimes waiting to do his crunches. Actually, some interesting ownership changes. Cody Bellinger now the highest owned position player and more highly owned than Mike Clevenger.
On DraftKings?
Yep.
Wow. Yeah, you're not wrong about that at all. That's a little bit surprising to me, so I might get a few less Dodgers, but still, I think I'm going to be okay with Dodgers tonight.
Yeah, I got a little bit less Cody than I thought I would because that price is tough, man. Like 6K on DraftKings, like I don't know. I like him a lot, and I think to this particular matchup with Sensatella, Sensatella keeps the ball down pretty well, and that doesn't necessarily help out a ton at Coors. But I like Cody the most in that matchup because he's a guy who actually can hit well. He can get on base, he can get steals. I think he had a steal last night. So he can do some more stuff, whereas the rest of the guys in that lineup, they're straight power. So if Sensatella keeps the ball down on them, I think I would worry a little bit more about guys like Peterson and Muncy. So I like Cody, but 25% Cody at 6K, that's a lot of Cody Bellinger out there.
Oh, yeah. Definitely a lot. So what that tells me, when you look at Cody Bellinger's price, or his price, his ownership, and then you look at the other guys that are getting heavily owned, the pitchers, Clevinger and DeGrom, that means, to me, a lot of people are going to Dodgers in like mini stacks and, one-offs with Bellinger, which is understandable for sure. I'm going to have a lot of those, but what that tells me is that the Dodgers are probably going to be really under-owned as a full stack, 4 and 5 man stack, I would think.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, it's a good observation for people out there. And that's one of the things you can do. I mean, that is something we try to emphasize here. And that's honestly, our senior management team is better at that than everybody, manipulating ownership to figure out things and figure out pieces of the puzzle and stuff like that. And that's actually a very helpful tidbit for you guys to keep in mind if you do have the ownership projections that we have at Osmo.com when you're looking at all the stuff for yourselves.
No Chris Davis.
Oh, go ahead, Jake.
No Chris Davis in the A's lineup.
Oh, okay. That weakens them a little there.
Yeah, it looks like Profar instead, Laureano maybe wasn't supposed to be in the lineup or someone, or Piscotti, I can't remember. So Davis is out.
Okay. Site I use hasn't updated theirs. I feel like this site, which I won't name, been a little bit later than usual with some of their lineups sometimes, where like it'll update on other sites and not theirs, which I'm surprised by. But I won't mention it because we don't give them a plug. But yeah. All right, let's do the dong picks, Jake. We're at the halfway point of the show. And, of course, we will talk about top stacks in the back half. And, again, if you want to play along with us with all the ownership projection and all that, use that promo code Live Before Lock for half off your first month of Osmo Plus. Jake, you are now – you and EMAC both got a home run yesterday after you so hurtfully stole Tani right away from me. Mr. Steal Your Girl Jake took Show right out of my arms and claimed him for himself and got a home run with him. David Peralta did not come through, but a perfectly fine baseball play yesterday by him. Just not any home runs in San Francisco. But EMAC still in first place with 15. Jake in second place with excuse me. EMAC 16, Jake 15. I'm at 12. Josh is at 11. EMAC, by the way, has made more picks than both Josh and me, even though EMAC does many less Live Before Lock shows, which hurts given his successful hit rate. So EMAC is pulling away by just showing up. So I guess that's the biggest opportunity for most people, or the biggest ability is going to be availability for EMAC. But Jake, who is your pick? I'll let you go first again because we have enough guys.
Sure. I will take I'll take CJ Cron from the Minnesota Jakes.
All right. That's an interesting one. I would be curious where he is on Josh's home run model personally.
Probably like 700th, but it's all right.
I'm going to go with actually, who do I have the most of? That's the question. Let me look. This is actually a tough one because I think my stacks ended up. I got to go to Washington, I think, based on what I have. Oh, yeah. I'm going to go Ryan Zimmerman.
Chalk. Nice. No, I'm kidding. Mine was pretty chalky, too. That's a good pick. No problems with that.
One of my preferred value plays on the day, being under 4K with his hitting ability going against Norris. I mean, it's a nice spot overall. Also a fairly warm day in Detroit. So it'll really, all the smells will really come out. RoboCop will be smelling great by the end of the day at this one.
Here's a tweet from Alex, who's at FSGA right now. The Dodgers are projected to score more points tonight than any projected team total over the past few years. I know because it broke my spreadsheet.
Okay, there you go. All right. Everybody else dropping their dong picks in the chat. Sure, go for it.
Josh said he was going to take Cron. Nice.
Yeah.
Hunter
all right.
Renfroe.
Oh, and EMAC, the clubhouse leader, going with Hunter Renfroe. And Zimmerman's 34th in Josh's model, which I don't know if that makes me feel good or I guess that's good on a slate of this size.
Yeah.
Or Renfroe.
Zimmerman coming back, and you're just taking him right away. That's aggressive.
Yeah, he's the guy I have a lot of, so that's why it jumped out. But you're probably right. I should have gone with somebody. Yeah, you got to do what you do. It should be actually, who's going to hit it? It's going to be Howie Kendrick. But
Ugh,
whatever.
gross. That's
Yeah,
gross.
actually, hmm. Yeah, I'll stick with Zimmerman, I guess. I will regret this when it ends up being Kendrick who hits that home run, though.
Renfro number 30 for the Chubster.
All right, I guess Josh isn't going to make a pick, but he is going to rank everybody else's picks.
No, he'll make one here.
Josh and I need to start making more picks just to catch up because I think Emax is getting the at bats. It's like a DFS principle with Emax picks so far. He's in the leadoff spot. He just keeps getting more at bats each time, and he's making them count.
He is making them count. I will definitely agree with that. I think he's got the highest percentage still.
He does. So he's been doing both, where he's got a good OBP in the leadoff spot.
Yeah, he does. He definitely does. Did you see Josh's pick is in?
No. Let's see. Oh, Alex Bregman for Josh. Okay.
It's another good pick.
There you go. So Bregman, Zimmerman, Crone, and Renfro. Those are the picks. And of course, Emac is the clubhouse leader. So when Hunter Renfro doesn't go off today, you can yell at him because Emac should know better.
That's right.
Tweet him angrily at Emac DFS.
Emac and I will be on tomorrow morning and afternoon.
Ooh, the old double Eric session for you, Jake.
Double Eric. That's right.
Tune in tomorrow for Eric and Jake live in the mornings, the hot new morning show on your local hits radio station.
That's right.
All right, Jake, let's talk top stacks here. And of course, if you want to play along with us, the top stacks tool is a really great tool that we have at Osmo.com. Use that promo code live before lock for half off your first month. Sean V is going to fade Bregman now because of Josh's pick. Sean V, just the rivalry continues on even when it's not being throwed, or even when Josh isn't making the angry faces at Sean V on the video stream. Still carries on.
Yeah.
Right. Jake, who's your top stack on the day? Go give me a really controversial one. Is it going to be the Dodgers?
It is going to be the Dodgers, so that's not very controversial. You see the ownership for Bellinger, like I said, but I don't think they're going to be as owned as they should be as a full stack. So for me, I mean, yeah, they're chalky, but they're not chalky enough. Just a massive total, 7.5. Actually, let's look at the lineups page and see what we have them at. 8.2, Alex has them at. That's, like you said, that's the highest total he's seen over the past few years in his model. So, give me some Dodgers. I think if you play this spot more often than not, you're going to come out ahead, even though it's chalky. Still going under owned relative to their chance of being the top stack.
So, okay, here's a question for you. So how would this affect the Dodgers overall? I guess we are talking about top stacks. So Sensatella does keep the ball down decently well, even when he's pitching at Coors half the time. A 25% fly ball rate, which is pretty low by general league standards. He doesn't miss bats, so I know that's going to be a problem. But a guy who keeps the ball down well and doesn't have a crazy high whip, certainly not a good one, a 1.6 whip, does that maybe give you any pause at all for stacking them up, or does that make them more appealing because they're not going to have a bunch of home runs most likely, just having guys having those long sailing or those wind-aided, doubles or so? How does that affect a stack if a guy keeps the ball down?
I mean, if he keeps the ball down, that's fine. But the problem is when you're a ground ball pitcher and you miss your spot, you're going to probably have a higher home run to fly ball rate. So you're more often to miss your spot in Coors, where it's tougher to get break on pitches and stuff. And if you're off at all, especially against this Dodgers team, you're just in huge trouble. So for me, it's just a guy who can't miss bats. That's more what I look at. And does his stuff play well in Coors, and the implied total is massive. So Sensatella is not going to get me anywhere close to getting off this Dodgers stack.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's fair. I just wanted to see what your thoughts were on that, because I know in general, like if the ball's up in the air, it's going to be a problem. But he's not giving up a ton of hard contact and doing pretty decent well limiting to soft and medium contact. But not a thing that scared me off necessarily, but something that I did observe and was kind of curious what your logic on that would be. Who's your favorite Dodger in the stack, or I guess who's your favorite grouping? Is there anybody that jumps out you're going to have more of than the field?
Yeah, so I guess I love everything about the Dodgers stack. The thing is, I would try to Russell Martin's going to be in a lot of Dodgers stacks just because he's the cheapest part of the stack, and he's batting eighth, and he's not that great of a hitter, and it's righty-righty. So you'd be a guy maybe trying to be avoiding getting to in the Dodger stack if you can. It makes it really tough, but that would kind of be my one piece of advice is just because the Dodger stack goes off doesn't mean their bad catcher goes off. I mean, you saw Barnes yesterday. Dodgers went nuts. They scored 12 runs, and Barnes went 0 for 5. So you still don't want to be playing a ton of these bad catchers in the stack. It's going to be super chalky, I think. Like Jeff Mathis, you see when the Rangers are chalky, he's like 2K, but he's one of the chalkier parts of the stack, which to me doesn't make sense. And like I'd just rather go elsewhere than Russell Martin. So if he dongs, whatever. I still have a bunch of Russell Martin, but trying to limit the amount I get in my Dodgers stacks. What about you?
So what about the fact that Russell Martin's only 8% owned? Like that's pretty low relative to the stack overall. I mean, that wouldn't put you back on him, that he's not going to be like everybody just loading up on Russell Martin in that catcher spot.
Yeah, he's not terrible, but he's just also not one of the best spots or one of the best parts of the Dodgers stack. So he might just be an easy throw in if people are full stacking that. He might be a guy that they'll just easily throw in. If they've got a 4-man, they'll just make it into a 5-man type of thing. So that's my only issue with him. Like, if you want to play him, fine. If he makes it work, that's perfectly fine. But on Yahoo, I know he's like $9. So that would actually be a spot where I'm actively trying to fade him in my Dodgers stacks because everyone else is super expensive.
Yeah, I actually did see that part of the strategy show where you guys were trying to find a way to get that stack in there. Also, I didn't realize you could make 6-man stacks on Yahoo.
Oh, yeah. That's what I have tonight. I think I have 3 6-mans, maybe 2 6-mans and 1 5-man or something like that.
Also, apparently the Padres lineup came out, but again, not on the site that I use for lineups. That's so strange.
I got a text alert, so it should be popping up.
I got an alert on Fantasy Cruncher that it was up, but it is not on the site that rhymes with Schmanasy Schmabs. Oh well. All right, who's gonna be your number 2 stack?
Number 2, it actually looks like it might be the Twins, which I think people have just soured on them. They've come down as far as total ownership. But this is another situation where on DraftKings especially, you might want to get Arias out of your stack. It's lefty-lefty. He's not a power hitter. He doesn't offer a ton for DFS outside of his position. So you might project okay, but I'd be trying to get in like Scope. Adrianza, I think, is a really nice pivot to Arias at shortstop on DraftKings, and some of these other spots. But it's a 5.8 implied total still. It's not like their total dropped a half a run or anything like that. Like, it's still a really favorable spot in warm weather in Chicago.
Yeah, all right, that's fair. I still don't love the spot overall, but the run total is there, and I get wanting to go there. And the prices aren't too bad, especially now that they've gotten some of the good guys out of that Twins lineup. It is a more affordable one. I probably wouldn't be super inclined to pay for Max Kepler, though.
He hits lefties actually pretty well for a left-handed hitter, but yeah, 5,100 is tough. So if you don't get to him in your Twin stack, probably not the end of the world, but it's not like he can't hit lefties. I will say that.
Yeah, it's a 250 batting average, 98 WRC plus, 183 ISO versus lefties. So you're right. He's not bad. But still at 5,100, like you could get Dodgers for that price. I'd rather give that a shot.
Yeah, that's the thing. So only in Twin stacks. You wouldn't be getting the Kepler outside of Twin stacks, I don't think.
How about Washington? Because they are one of mine who I like a lot. We do have them as being potentially a worse chance of being a top stack, unless that's changed. Let me just double check to make sure. Okay, now we're good. So now they do have a better chance of being a top stack than their ownership. That was not the case earlier today. But I've been on them for most of the day. I really like the spot. I think this lineup, too, the flexibility you have with Washington today is pretty strong because every guy in their lineup besides Adam Eaton is over a 107 WRC+. plus. Eaton's got an 82, but he's still decent enough versus the lefty. Not a guy I'm trying to get to, but he can get things done. Same thing as Kepler, I think. Washington, are they a team you're going to get to at all, given the value in the bottom of the order and just the good guys up top?
Yeah, no problem getting to Washington. I thought they were going to go super over-owned earlier today when I was catching a little bit of the strategy show, just the overall strategy show with Adam and Josh. But it looks like outside of Zimmerman, they're actually pretty contrarian. You've got Eaton lefty-lefty. I mean, he's cheap, but still lefty-lefty. Soto lefty-lefty, but he's expensive. Kendrick super expensive at $5K, and then Rendon is priced probably where he should be. So outside of Zimmerman, who got a lineup bump back, and he's now much less chalkier than earlier, it looks like really good spots. They don't grade out as great values, but that's exactly the kind of stack that I would want to target on a slate like this. So, yeah, I have gotten more and more on Washington as the day has gone on.
Yeah, I wouldn't be afraid to stack the bottom of the order because you do have Zimmerman at 3,900, Suzuki at 4,300. Those guys both 174, 130 WRC plus versus left-hand pitching. Even though, as Jake mentioned, Ryan Zimmerman is coming back to the lineup after an injury, so your mileage may vary with that. But Dozier as well, also pretty cheap at 3,400. Victor Robles also really solid. You're gonna have less opportunity down there, but a 143 WRC plus versus left-hand pitching, 247 ISO. So these guys at the bottom of the order can hit really well. I think it's just a strong spot to go a variety of ways with it. So, yeah, I'm going to have a lot of Nationals, and I think they're one of the stronger ones. And I'm glad they're not now more owned in their potential to be a top stack because that was definitely a concern earlier in the day.
Yeah. What happened to Travis Shaw?
He sucks. I don't know.
Did he get released or something? Oh, yeah. Wow, you got an option to AAA.
Well, he's been having a rough season. He seems like he just broke out of nowhere this year, to be honest.
Yeah, that happens sometimes.
It's kind of sad. He wasn't bad last year, but who knows? Hopefully he gets in he could have a Josh Donaldson situation. Maybe he'll bounce back somewhere else.
For sure.
Who else are you getting? Who else is one of your more popular stacks? Actually, let's talk Milwaukee because they are one that has a very high team total. I think 6.2 implied runs the last I checked. Might be a little different on our site. A decent spot. We talked about Archer and the probability here of him getting blown up and the upside he has as a strikeout guy. But he has been giving up a lot of power, especially to lefties, and a 1.5 whip. Giving up 9 hits per 9, and really the 43% hard contact to lefties could be very problematic with the good lefties in Milwaukee's lineup. Christian Yelich in there, Grandal up top as well. Those guys are going to be pretty decently owned. Moustakas in the 3-hole, also going to have some ownership. How much Brewers are you getting?
Yeah, they're right up there. They're a top 3 stack for me, so they're going to be right around where Washington's at, and probably right below the Dodgers. Absolutely love the Brewers going up against a guy with some walk issues. Historically, he's always, he's a boomer bust type of pitcher, and that's exactly the kind of guy you want to stack against when they're not getting as much ownership as they should be. So Josh pointed out on the deeper dive that while Yelich and Grandal are getting some ownership, everyone else is kind of middle of the pack at worst. So Sean V was talking bad about Gamble. He's not that bad, batting 7th. I would like to get to the top 6 Brewers if I could. But yeah, I absolutely love them against Archer. You mentioned the hard contact and then walk issues. So if he's not missing bats, he's going to be in a really tough spot. This could be a really, really short outing for him.
Yeah, I would agree there. And I also wouldn't rule out Lorenzo Cain because I think a lot of people may shy away from the guy who's hitting righty when you have a guy giving up lefty power. But if Archer just walks those lefties and puts them on for Cain, Cain could be really valuable at 2% projected ownership on DK. Same thing for Eric Thames, who's not getting the lefty benefit at all in terms of ownership, but he is going to have the same potential there, even though he has a 256 ISO. Keston Hiura, too, not bad. I just wouldn't be afraid to full stack the Brewers here because those guys up top are going to have ownership. You could easily see production from the back of the order as well.
Yeah. They're a bunch of good hitters going up against a guy who's giving up power. What's not to like, honestly? Ownership is not an issue with them either.
Yeah, I agree. And I also wouldn't hate Tyler Saladino. He's not a great player, but he's competent enough. 108 WRC plus versus righties down at the bottom of the order, dual position eligibility, and he's got a reasonable price. So I wouldn't run away from him either necessarily if I got him.
Yeah, I'm with it.
Anybody else? I guess who would be the guy you're getting the most of out of the ones that we're not talking about so far?
Say that again?
Who are you getting the most of out of the teams that we haven't talked about so far?
Okay. Another team with a big implied total is Houston.
Yeah.
Tommy Milone going to see the bulk of the innings here for Seattle, and that is not worrisome. He can be really frustrating. He's got decent control, and when he does have it working, your stack's not going to go off. So he's kind of one of those Mike Leake types that Seattle has a couple of. Wade LeBlanc, where if it's working, it looks like how can you not hit this guy? But there's a reason they've hung around in the majors. So, anyways, near 6 implied total here for the Astros. Tons of hitters that hit lefties really well. Even down to Chirinos and Tyler White. White's having a bad season, but he's 3K. So you can make a case to play him easily. Altuve is ridiculously underpriced across the board. He's 39 on DraftKings. I think he's 15 on Yahoo. That would be a guy I'd be looking to get into like a cash game. And then Bregman, Josh's home run pick, is underpriced in my opinion. Same thing with Gurriel. Same thing with Brantley, even lefty. So really, really, really good value here for Houston.
Yeah, much like Washington is another team who has a really strong lineup top to bottom, where obviously you want those guys who are cheaper up top, like Jake mentioned. Altuve and Bregman are both going to have ownership on them. You go all the way down to Tyler White and Jake Marisnick, and Tyler White hasn't been great on the year, but he's been good versus lefties going back to last year. 118 WRC plus, some good power, 193 ISO. Same thing with Marisnick too, with 219 ISO versus lefties. So there's a lot of ways you can stack it up if you want to differentiate. But yeah, the value for Houston is noteworthy. Even though their park not the best for hitting, but I think there was something that Adam said about Malone's penchant for giving up pulled balls, and that some guys will probably be able to pull it for Houston in a way that could help them get more power on this spot. Which
it's just so Malone, because he throws so soft, like a lot of guys pull the ball, which could work to his benefit if you're overswinging and you're swinging at bad stuff that's on the outside of the plate or whatever. But it's also a good park for righty power. I believe Houston is, because of the short deck in left field.
Yeah, so there you go. So something I'll keep in mind there. And again, just really nice values for Houston. So they are a team that's worthwhile, and that 5.8 implied run total is a pretty high one as well. Trying to think if there's anybody who I have that we are. The Angels I liked more earlier today, Jake, when they had Upton in there, because I thought Upton was a nice value guy. Calhoun's still a pretty decent priced guy in that top 4 now in the cleanup spot. Are you going to get any Angels in your lineup, given that Fires does give up those fly balls? Do you earn that nickname, Fly Ball Fires, for a reason?
Yeah, fly ball Mike Fires. But no, I'm actually not crazy about the Angels. I agree with you on the Upton call. I would have much rather liked him with Calhoun or Ohtani. So no Ohtani, no Upton, just waters down this lineup quite a bit. No Andrelton Simmons either. So, not to the point where I'm playing Mike Fires, but it's really going to be Trout, maybe a couple Ohtani is in the lineup. I don't know what I'm looking at. Ohtani's 4,700, so it's going to be some Trout, some Ohtani, but I wasn't near the field on these guys when I look at what I was getting before the show.
I liked Upton quite a bit, and I think Trout's still in a really strong spot. Fires does struggle even more with righty power. He's not not good versus lefties, but not bad enough where I'd be trying to target that side. Trout just been raking righties on the year, 196 WRC plus, and he's probably the most likely candidate to stick it to Fires. But you have an Upton there, I think would have been a more appealing as a full stack or even as a 3-man.
Yeah,
still not a bad one to go to. Even Pujols, I wouldn't hate him at his price either.
Yeah, Pujols. There's worse spots to play Pujols at 3,700. I think. It wouldn't be a sin to play Albert Pujols here. I don't think, against Mike Fires.
Yep, I think that's fair. All right. Anybody that you're getting weird who we haven't hit on? Actually, let's talk about the Pittsburgh side going against Chacín. We did talk a lot of smack about Chacín earlier, and Pittsburgh is a team who I feel like I've heard a lot of people talk about today that they want to get to but can't afford to get there. That's sort of an ideal spot to me to go to there, given that these guys have hit righties pretty well on the year. They're now in a park where they have a bunch of lefties that's also going to enable lefty power. I'm intrigued by Pittsburgh, and they're under 5% owned. Every single player except Chris Archer is going to be under 5% owned for Pittsburgh. Are you getting any of them?
Yeah, I'm not getting to much of them. If Chacín was getting more ownership, like if he was one of the only options in this range, I think I would probably get to a bunch of Pittsburgh. But you're not getting great leverage, and Bell is super expensive, 5,500. There's a bunch of other teams, a bunch of other guys in this price range, specifically Dodgers, that I would like to get to instead. So I rarely get to Josh Bell at 5,500, even though I recognize he's a much different hitter, a much better hitter. And then Brian Reynolds is priced up. They're priced up on Yahoo too, so it's just tough to get to them with some other teams with higher implied totals and just better matchups, I think, overall.
Yeah, I would agree with that overall. I find them an interesting team, and I do think it might be more of a mini stack situation, but I think if you get the lefties there, like if you want to pay that premium, if you're maybe fading the Dodgers game or you're trying to get weird with it and maybe do a Dodgers mini stack with some of the cheap guys, like Reynolds jumps out as me to somebody who's pretty interesting. He's had a lot of hard contact, 156 at-bats versus righties going back to last year, 52% hard contact, and home runs haven't been there for him as much, but in this park, I think it could be a differential there. I would prefer Bell over Marte. But yeah, I like the lefties quite a bit in that spot. And if you are going to go to them, I think there could be some potential for upside at just not at all any ownership. And yeah.
It is,
Right.
there's always a bunch of teams on this like these 14, 15 game slates where it's like, man, why is this team not getting any ownership? And then I look back and it's a team like Pittsburgh where it's like, I kind of like the spot, I just didn't really get there. It's so tough to narrow it down on these big slates.
How about Colorado? Because somebody in the chat mentioned that nobody's talking about them today. And the spot versus Ryu, I mean, Arenado does hit lefties really well. There are still a bunch of lefties up top, and Ryu's been really good on the year in terms of just limiting production, not getting a lot of strikeouts, but just a .84 whip, only a .92 whip going back to last year. I wasn't inclined to go to much Colorado. I think I might have one or two of them, but not a guy or not a team I'm trying to go against, and not a guy I'm trying to go against. What are you doing with Colorado?
Yeah, Rio's just a really good pitcher. So I get that it's Coors, but Arenado would be a guy I'd like to target because it's against the lefty in Coors. But outside of him, I mean, who do you really want to target against a guy who's honestly been one of the better pitchers in all of the majors so far this season? So there's just spots I like way, way, way better than Colorado if you're talking about the full stack. And you have to pay a premium for them. It's not like you're getting a discount against Ryu here.
Yeah,
Did you
I
get
would
to any
agree there.
Colorado?
What was that?
Did you get to any Colorado?
A little bit, and I kind of wanted to force a little bit of Arenado in there just because he does always smash lefties, and I feel like that's something where if anybody's going to get anything done there, I think he's got the best shot. A 184 WRC plus versus lefties and a 359 ISO, obviously being in core is certainly going to help too. So I think he's an interesting play to go against, but Ryu's so good. Yeah, like I didn't want to force it, and I think I got them in one lineup where I had like a Senzatella. They'd also gave me Colorado because that's the only way you could fill the salary.
Yeah, I mean, I'll never argue about getting Arenado and Coors versus a lefty, no matter who the lefty is. But there's 28 teams on the slate, and I'd rather not go up against a really good pitcher if I can avoid it.
Yeah, I think that's a fair take. Anybody else you're getting who's a little bit strange? If you have any people you want us to talk about right now in the chat in terms of teams and stacks that I guess we haven't hit on, please drop it in there. We will hit them either in the premium Slack, of course, with the promo code Live Before Lock for half off your first month, or in the YouTube chat. I'm checking them both right now. People want to talk more pitching, even though we usually do pitching in the first half, but we can circle back on that. I guess we might as well circle back now, unless there's any stacks you want to hit on that we haven't touched on, Jake.
I just wanted to reiterate, I'm getting some KC. That I would imagine when I get to KC, that's going to be a lot of the DeGrom, Clevenger shares I have. So it's not like a main stack for me. I really, really, really prefer paying up for stacks tonight.
Yeah, no, I feel like you feel that way since it started to get warm out across the country.
Yeah, exactly. And you're starting to see these implied totals rise. And just hitters have so much more variance, whereas if you're heavy on one of these expensive stacks, people will like to pay up for pitcher. So just by default, if you're playing an expensive stack, you can't pay up at both or maybe not even one spot if you're playing someone like the Dodgers. So I just like how different it gets you. And there's massive upside, as you saw last night when teams scored 12 runs.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Actually, one last team to hit on because I think they are coming up a little bit in ownership, and somebody mentioned them earlier, and I think I just forgot to bring them up. Toronto going against Danny Duffy. Hitting well, obviously, in general, in terms of power. Duffy, not a great pitcher. In a positive power park in Toronto. Are they somebody that you're getting any stacks of or one-offs or mini stacks?
No, I thought I would get to more Vlad Guerrero, but even at 3,400, I guess just the opportunity cost at third base is the only thing I can think of that is making me not get to Vlad Guerrero. I thought the Blue Jays would be super heavily owned. Do you have them on the top stack tool in front of you? Actually, I can pull this up.
For Toronto, yeah, they are still over-owned compared to their potential to be a top stack. We have on DraftKings have them as a 3% chance to be the top stack and 6.1% ownership right now. It looks like.
Yeah, so that's I mean that's a bit problematic. 6% ownership isn't going to make me be like, no, you can't play them, but just them going a little bit over-owned is the issue here. Duffy's not bad. I don't love the lineup that Toronto rolled out. You'd like Grichuk to be up higher. I don't know. I'm kind of indifferent on Toronto.
CNG Core asking for late game talk. Honestly, my thing is out of order because of the line, the Vegas lines coming out weirdly for Seattle and Houston. I assume it's a 3 late game slate with Oakland, LA, St. Louis, San Diego, and Arizona Giants.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
So let's see. Yeah, okay. So there's no Coors on that slate. I was thinking it was a Coors slate for some reason, but yeah, I guess on that slate, I would be more looking to get a guy like Felix Pena, who's not even listed as the starter. He's not getting much ownership. But the bats, I usually stack every team unless they're like on a 2 and 3 game slate, just because why wouldn't you with the 150 lineups? But yeah, I don't have any like super hot takes. You just need to figure out a way to get leverage on each of your lineups with just 6 teams on the slate.
Yeah, I mean, that's really where the membership at Osmo.com really helps out. So get that Osmo Plus membership, get half off your first month with promo code Live Before Lock, because the ownership for that is something that's going to be really important. We don't have that in front of us right now. But if you are making lineups, you're trying to find leverage. Like I would say the Padres in general will be interesting, like if Waka is highly owned. But if the Padres are the de jour stack, you probably want to go to Waka, and that's sort of the leverage plays that you have to make based upon the ownership. So yeah, like I think it's all contingent upon that. But I agree with Felix Pena for the late slate. I think it would be interesting, and probably, I mean, you can honestly make an argument probably for Fire. So I imagine LA is going to be pretty decently owned in that late slate too.
That I actually do like that call, that the Fire's call, just because, like you mentioned, LA is they've got a decent implied total, especially for that slate. Maybe if you played a bunch of walk on the main, you're playing the late. Maybe you play more Padre stacks as sort of a hedge, especially if things are going well on the main slate. So that's something Tom's talked about, where you use kind of the late slate to hedge depending on how your early lineups are going. I haven't figured out exactly how to do that. I kind of just play each slate straight up, but certainly an interesting option.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I said, are you doing your crunches? Are you done with everything? Do you have your percentages?
I've got DK in. I am loading. I'm trying to get FanDuel right now. Let's see here. Why isn't this popping up?
I'm curious if anything changed for you at pitcher. When we talked about it earlier in the show, the pitchers that we had the most of, we both had a lot of Vince Velasquez and Eliezer Hernandez. I prefer Clevenger, but didn't quite get enough of them in the lineups that I had made in general, with my hand kind of guiding them. Yeah, like I'm not crazy about Waka, and I think really I'm just heavy, I think, on Vince and Eliezer.
So yeah, Eliezer and Vince are my 2 highest owned guys, to no surprise. And then it's a bunch of Dodgers. It is a bunch of Twinkies, a lot of like CJ Cron, like I mentioned. So my home run pick, hoping that pays off in a big way. And then nothing super weird. I got to more Ohtani than I thought, but not as much Trout as the field. I got to 9% Kepler, which I kind of like if I'm going to have a bunch of twin stacks. Like, I might as well be over-owned, and you hope that you get the start, or I might as well be overweight. I hope that I get the starter out of there type of thing, and then Kepler gets to face some righties. But, yeah, nothing super surprising. Have you changed anything on your crunches?
No, so I'm just doing the one where I do, today in particular, I'm doing 2 different crunches. One where I guided all my stuff and tried to get the stacks I wanted and capture some of the guys that I wanted. And I'm also doing one where I'm just straight up using projections. I also pulled some of the stacks from it, but really not changing everything, just doing some straight 5-3s and 5-2-1s. And on those, I do have a little bit of Detroit, which I didn't have in my handmade ones, and a bit of Toronto full stacks, who I did not have in my hand guided ones. So Detroit, I don't really know why, but they come up in our projections, I think, to get you some Dodgers.
Yeah, I didn't get to any Detroit, so interesting. They're probably a cheap stack that allows you to fit in like DeGrom and or maybe Clevenger. I wonder if that even works.
Yeah, actually, I'll look at it real fast, see who I got with that one, because that stands out as being one particularly odd one. Yeah, DeGrom, Hernandez, and then a Dodger stack of Verdugo, Muncy, and Turner is what that one is.
Okay. Oh man, my FanDuel lineups are not exporting correctly. This is going to be interesting to see if this works.
Also, Cleveland is one team who I kind of wanted to force some more to. I don't think they're good by any stretch, especially now that, well, I guess, so we've been wondering what was wrong with Jose Ramirez. I think it might just be that he's had a pregnant wife this entire time. Like, I don't want to be mean or misogynistic in any way, but that's like a stressful thing in some guys' lives, and that could be why he's been so terrible on the year.
I mean, yeah, we're talking about human beings, so who knows, man? Anything.
There's like nothing else you could point to health-wise besides that, and all of a sudden he's on paternity leave. So maybe he just had a lot of long nights, a wife is having a tough pregnancy, and then you're just not there. So maybe he'll be better once he has the baby. He'll get that daddy upswing.
I can't even imagine trying to play DFS while having a pregnant wife, let alone trying to play, at the top of your profession, playing
Yeah,
baseball
on the
and
road
traveling.
too, like
Yeah,
traveling every day.
That would be the absolute nut low. So let's see.
Getting passive aggressive texts about how you're not there to get ice cream or that would be the worst. Even if you are a multimillionaire athlete, that can weigh on you.
I'd be like, yeah, can't really argue with you there. You know?
Just hire a replacement dad or something in the meantime to fill in.
A replacement dad. Yeah, that's exactly right. All right, I got my FanDuel lineups in somehow. I don't know what's going on with my Excel sheet, but they copied in and they worked. So I've got exposures for you on FanDuel. Let's see here. Chirinos, and then my highest exposed hitter is actually not a Dodger, which I'm surprised about. It is Christian Yelich, though. So I'll take that as a pretty decent consolation. My next 4 hitters, Muncy, Bellinger, Turner, Peterson, are all over 20%. So Dodgers, my highest owned stack on both sites, and then they're tied for my highest owned on Yahoo. I stacked them in 1 out of 3. Nothing real weird. I'm kind of playing both sites. I'm getting a lot of the same teams, which is interesting. It's not like there's usually one team where I'm super heavy on one site where I'm not on the other. It looks like maybe Cleveland, I'm getting to them more on FanDuel than DraftKings, but nothing crazy. I mean, Twins, Houston, the Dodgers, and who was that other one? Milwaukee. So those are kind of my main 4 on both sites.
And nothing too controversial there. No Washington though. It bums me out.
Yeah, wait. Let me go back to my DK exposures. Maybe I missed them. They're like a middle of the road stack for me. I mean, Rendon is actually my highest owned national, which I really, really like because he's 8%. I'm double the field on him. I am around the same as Trey Turner, and then not making a huge stand on the Nats, but definitely not leaving them behind by any means.
Yeah, I ended up on my Osmo projection crunches. I got less Washington too, so they might just be one that might be a little bit overrated today. But it's like the spot versus Norris, and I feel like whenever you get a team who hits that well collectively, I do try to force them in for full stacks, just because it's hard to find teams where you have not only the top 5 but also the bottom 5 that you could also stack up and get creative with. So yeah, we'll see how Washington does. If they fail today, though, I'll have learned an important lesson. All right, so we are locked. So guys, before you leave for the weekend, of course, we appreciate you guys watching, but we also appreciate you hitting the like button on the way out. The likes just help us keep the lights on overall. We have a lot of expensive, fancy studio lights around right now, so we have to do a lot of things to keep the lights on. So please hit that like button for us so we can do that. Jake, give me your weekend plugs. What shows are you doing?
Yeah, tomorrow morning with EMAC, Eric, as some like to call him, we'll be talking about both slates. I'm sure talking about other topics. Maybe EMAC will sing to start off the show. You never really know. And then we'll be back for Live Before Lock. So you're getting 2 more looks at EMAC and myself. So tune in accordingly. It's usually a pretty fun show. And you're more likely to get your questions answered on those shows, I think, because it's usually a little bit of a smaller crew. So come by and we'll talk all the slates. That's the one thing that's really cool about doing the shows with EMAC, is that he's always looking for like the turbo slates, like the smaller stuff, and those also have huge edges, and we have ownership projections for those. So if you're looking to play some more niche slates, I think we're probably a pretty good combo for you.
Yeah, if you are degenning, there is nobody to be a degenerate with who is better than EMAC. He's searching for every possible angle to make the odds and ends meet. So it'll be really valuable for you guys tomorrow. So go check it out with Jake and EMAC on both shows, both the Strategy Show and Live Before Lock tomorrow. Subscribe, hit the notification bell to know when they go live tomorrow. And I'll be back on Monday. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you all enjoy your weekend. Hopefully it's nice and sunny wherever you are. Get that first good summer weekend in there. And we'll see you guys again soon. So good luck, guys.